Alright, this is video 2, Way of the Warrior Kid, starting with chapter 5. When I woke up the next morning, Uncle Jake wasn't in my room anymore. I didn't know where he was. I walked downstairs, and he was at the breakfast table with my mom. "What's up, Sleepy?" he said. I rubbed my eyes. He was right. I was still sleepy. "What have you been doing?" I asked. Well, he replied, "I woke up, worked out, went for a run, took a shower, reviewed some reading that was recommended from college, and now I'm having breakfast with my sister." "You did all that this morning?" "I sure did." "What time did you wake up?" "Zero dark 30, Uncle Jake replied. "What the heck is that?" I asked. Uncle Jake smiled. "That means I got up early, very early." I had no idea anyone could wake up that early. I have a hard time getting out of bed at 7 just to get ready for school. Uncle Jake must have gotten up around 5. "You and I need to talk today, don't we?" "Yes, we do," I replied anxiously. "All right, then finish your breakfast and we'll go for a walk." I scarfed down some food, threw on my clothes, and told Uncle Jake I was ready. "Are you sure you're ready?" he asked with a serious look on his face. "I'm pretty sure," I told him, even though I felt nervous. "All right then," he told me, "let's go." So we headed out the door and down the street toward the park. "So Mark, what do you know about being a warrior?" Uncle Jake asked me as soon as we turned the first corner. "I don't think I know anything about being a warrior," I told him. "Okay, well then what do you think being a warrior is?" Hmm, I, I guess a warrior is someone who fights in wars, right? "Well, that's one part of it, but what else?" "I'm not sure what else." "So what do you think the only way to be a warrior is? Why do you think the only way to be a warrior is to fight in wars? And do you think anyone who fights in wars is a warrior?" "I guess so," I answered. "Well, you guess wrong. There's a lot about being a warrior. There's a lot more about being a warrior than just being a warrior. Warriors are people that stand up for themselves. They face challenges, and warriors work hard to achieve their goals. They have discipline to overcome their weaknesses. And warriors are people that constantly try to test and improve themselves. And yes, war is an ultimate test, but not all warriors go to war." "But how can a kid be a warrior?" I asked. "It just didn't seem like a kid would be able to do all those things." "By doing everything I said. A normal kid doesn't push himself. A warrior kid does. A normal kid doesn't work constantly to improve himself, and a warrior kid does. I looked at all these problems that you cried about, to me about yesterday, and a warrior kid wouldn't cry about these problems. A warrior kid would do something about these problems." "Do what?" "Do whatever it takes. Every problem every problem you have can be overcome. Every single one of them. You can't do pull-ups? You work out and get stronger until you can. You don't know your times tables? You can study and train your mind until you know them cold. You can't swim? You learn how. You get picked on? You learn to fight for yourself." "Fight?" I asked. "Yeah, fight. Just like anything else in the world, there are techniques to fighting like learning a sport, and you know the techniques and practice them. You can defend yourself from anyone." "You really think I could do all that?" "I know you can. Like I told you last night, I had to transform myself when I got into the Navy. I had to get stronger, and I had to learn to fight. I even had to learn. But I did it, and if I did it, you can do it. Do you want to? Do you want to overcome all those challenges that you face?" "Of course," I shouted, feeling pretty fired up about everything Uncle Jake was telling me. Who wouldn't? Then Uncle Jake got really serious. And completely wiped off anything resembling a smile on his face. He looked me straight in the eye and said, "But let me tell you something. This is not going to be easy. This will be way harder than anything you've ever done before. I'll help you, but, but you're the one that has to do the work. You have to want to change. This has to come from you. Do you want to do this?" I was a little nervous, but after what he said, I thought of overcoming all my problems, and there was an explosion in my head. "Yeah, I do. I need a commitment because I don't want to waste time on you. Do you promise?" Uncle Jake asked as he held out his hand for a shake. I felt more pressure than I've ever felt in my life. I looked him in the eye and said, "Yeah, I promise." We shook hands. "We start tomorrow morning," Uncle Jake said quietly. We walked through the park and back to the house without saying another word. Something had already changed. Chapter 6. The program begins. Oh wow, today was just as crazy, and I mean crazy, as ever. Except this time it was different. I was sound asleep in my bed this morning, peacefully dreaming about a double cheeseburger and fries and a milkshake from my favorite restaurant. So then I was enjoying this lovely dream, and the food had been delivered, and I was sitting in front of me, and I was just about to take the first bite of that delicious double cheeseburger when I heard clang, 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 clang. A shocking noise scared me half to death. My heart nearly jumped out of my chest, and I thought I was being attacked by aliens from outer space who use broken old drum cymbals as their main weapon. Then I heard the voice of one of the alien monsters yelling at me, "Get out of bed!" And I immediately thought that was an alien. It sounded awful, but it wasn't. It was Uncle Jake. Yep, you guessed it. That was Uncle Jake. He had a broomstick and a metal garbage can, and he was banging them together and yelling at me to get up out of bed and give me 50 push ups. Still confused, thinking about that double cheeseburger I was about to dig into in my dream, I told the alien that I didn't think I could do 50 or 5 push ups, so 50 was out of the question. But Uncle Jake didn't care about my cheeseburger or how many push ups I could do. He put the garbage can next to my head and banged even louder, and I rolled out of bed and did 9 push ups before I fell flat on my face. When I finally looked outside, I realized it was still dark outside, and I asked Uncle Jake what time it was. He said it was time to get up and get busy. That's it. That's how my day started. From there, Uncle Jake showed me a bunch of exercises and then made me do them. The weird thing was that all those exercises had strange names that seemed to put a big smile on Uncle Jake's face. Star jumpers, burpees, diamond push-ups, dive bomber push-ups, supermans, jackknives, belly busters, and let me tell you, even though those names sound funny, there's nothing funny about any of them. They hurt. But Uncle Jake seemed to do them all so easily. Then Uncle Jake gave me a test. I had to do as many squats, push-ups, and sit-ups as I could in 2 minutes with 1 minute of rest in between. I did 23 squats, 14 push-ups, and 18 sit-ups. Then Uncle Jake did the same thing. He did 104 squats, 108 push-ups, and 122 sit-ups. I told Uncle Jake I was a weakling, and then he explained to me that I was only weak right now because I'd never trained before. If you've never worked out, you're going to be weak. In order to make your body strong, he said, you have to make it work. And then he told me that it all started by getting up early in the morning and getting after it. I asked if maybe instead of waking up so early, we could just do our workout a little later in the day, perhaps a more reasonable time. And Uncle Jake said, no way. He said that pushing yourself began every day with pushing yourself out of bed. I asked him if that meant I had to have a garbage can banged to my ears every day. He said, no, as long as you get up out of bed early enough, there will be no garbage can. So it was either get out of bed early or have a garbage can banged to my ears. I wasn't sure I liked this program, but I did have to say one thing that surprised me. Doing all those exercises in the morning actually made me feel better all day. I felt awake and good, and I had extra energy. So even though my early workout was kind of rough, I really liked the way it made me feel for the rest of the day. It was worth it. Chapter 7. What it means to be a warrior. After a few days, I actually got used to getting up early, so by the third day, I didn't get a garbage can in my ears anymore. I was actually waking up on my own every day. Wow, today, after the morning routine of exercises, Uncle Jake had a pretty serious talk with me. So you think you're a warrior kid yet? He asked. I guess I might be, I told him. Why do you think you might be? Well, I'm waking up every morning and doing all the exercises you told me to. Do you think that makes you a warrior? Maybe, I asked. But deep down, I knew there was a lot more. Wrong, Uncle Jake cut me off. There's a lot more to being a warrior than just waking up early and working out. A lot more. What do you think the most important part of being a warrior is? Fighting the enemy? I asked, hoping for some good war stories. That's important, but it's just part of the job. Guess again, Uncle Jake said. Being in the military? Again, that is potentially a warrior's job, but it isn't the most important part of being a warrior. Got any other guesses? No, Uncle Jake, I'm stumped. It's the warrior code. Is that a secret language, I asked? No, Uncle Jake laughed. It's not a secret language. It's the rules warriors live by, the standards they hold for themselves and other warriors in their tribe. Like laws? I asked. Not really. Laws are what everyone lives by. They keep order. The warrior code isn't enforced by the police. It's something that you have to hold yourself to do, something that keeps you on the right path in life. What is the code then? What are the rules? Well, different warrior groups have different codes depending on their culture, their time, and their society. Well, which one's best? Oh, they're all different. You need to go and look for them yourself, read through them, and try to understand the different codes, and then come by your own warrior code, something that you can live by individually. Okay, where can I find them? I'll give you some when I get home. When we get back to the house, Uncle Jake pulled out an old 3-ring binder he handed me, and it simply read, The Way of the Warrior. I went up to my room and opened the notebook, and it had a bunch of paper in it with different type sizes, and some was photocopied, and some of it was handwritten, and some of the warrior codes I found inside were, for example, here's one called the SEAL Code. Here's number 1, loyalty to the country, team, and teammate. Number 2, serve with honor, integrity on and off the battlefield. Number 3, ready to lead, ready to follow, and never quit. Next is take responsibility for your actions and the actions of your teammates. Excel as warriors throughout discipline and innovation. Train for war, fight to win and defeat our nation's enemies. And the last one is earn your trident every day. Here's one called the Vikings Law. Be brave and aggressive. Be direct. Grab all opportunities. Use varying methods of attack. Be versatile and agile. Attack one target at a time. Don't plan everything in detail. And use top quality weapons. Here's one for being a merchant. Find out what your market needs. Do not promise what you can't keep. Do not demand overpayment, and arrange things so that you can always return them. Here's one for keeping your camp in order. Keep things tidy and organized. Arrange enjoyable activities that strengthen the group, and make sure everybody does useful work, and consult all the members of the group for advice. Here's the 7 virtues of Bushido, which is the samurai's code. Integrity, respect, heroic courage, honor, compassion, honesty, sincerity, duty, and loyalty. So all these things were super cool, and I knew I had to start thinking about what Uncle Jake said, making a warrior code of my own. I started thinking about what it would say and what it would mean to live by. So, Chapter 8, A Gift of Strength. This morning I got up, and when my alarm clock went off at my new usual time, which Uncle Jake calls 0:30, of course Uncle Jake wasn't in the room. He was already out somewhere doing some kind of exercise. I began to think that maybe Uncle Jake doesn't sleep at all. I never see him go to bed at night, and I never see him get up in the morning. His bed is always made, so I wasn't surprised that he wasn't in his room. But what happened next did surprise me. Get up, Uncle Jake shouted as he burst into the room. I am up, I told him. Come on then, I got you a present. A present? I already knew not to expect anything normal. In fact, I pretty much expected something painful. Yeah, a little something for you. Come on. I put on my shorts and shirt and running shoes and followed Uncle Jake downstairs. It's in the garage, said Uncle Jake as we headed out the door and through the backyard toward the garage. I wondered what in the world we could have there. A new bike, maybe? A go-kart? No, I knew that would be something more, should I say, practical. He opened the door to the garage and I walked in and looked around. Nothing. What? I asked him. What? He replied. What is it? I asked. I still saw nothing new in the garage. Look up, said Uncle Jake with a big smile on his face. Slowly I began to look up with no idea what to expect. Then I saw it staring back at me. A pull-up bar. What do you think, Uncle Jake asked me. It was crazy looking and kind of scary. A thick metal bar bolted with 2 heavy-duty pieces of wood. I made it last night while you were sleeping. I guess I could have been happy or thankful, but I was scared and nervous and embarrassed because I already knew that I couldn't do a single pull-up, and now here I was with Uncle Jake about to see exactly how weak I really was. As I stood there thinking all those horrible thoughts, Uncle Jake jumped up and did 25 pull-ups like it was nothing. This is a good bar, he told me. Give it a try here. He had built a little box for me to step on so I could reach the pull-up bar, and he pushed the bar under the ground and said, Step on it, let's see what you got. It seemed like a year passed as I stepped onto the box and slowly reached toward the pull-up bar and grabbed a hold of it. It was much thicker than the pull up bar at school, which made it even harder to hold on to. And then, just like the last day of school, I pulled as hard as I could, but nothing happened. I tried again and even grunted a little bit to try to prove to Uncle Jake that I was really trying, but all the grunting did not much at all, and Uncle Jake stood there and watched. After a few more seconds, I lost my grip and slipped off the bar. Sorry, Uncle Jake, I told him, embarrassed at my strength, or should I say complete lack of strength. And Uncle Jake said, "Don't be sorry. Sorry won't get you stronger. And here's what you're going to do," he said. Look, he took another box that he had made, which is taller than the first one, and put it under the bar. Step up on this box, grab the bar, and then jump up until your chin is over the bar. Then I want you to hold yourself up there as long as you can, and when you can't hold it any longer, come back down as slowly as you possibly can. I followed the instructions. I grabbed the bar, jumped up, and got my chin over the bar, and I held myself up for a few seconds. And then, when I couldn't stay up any longer, I came down as slowly as I could. As soon as I got to the bottom and my feet touched the box, Uncle Jake shouted, "Off. Now do it again." The next time my muscles were already tired, so I couldn't hold myself up as long, and I came down faster. "Again," Uncle Jake yelled. I did it again and again and again, and finally, when I could barely get myself up over the bar, basically dropped right down again, Uncle Jake said, "Okay, now take a break." When I joined the Navy, I could barely do 7 pull-ups, but the Navy gave me a program, and I stuck with it, and I do it every day. Now I can do about 50 of them pretty easily. You want to know how you get good at doing pull-ups? How? By doing pull-ups. And by the time summer is over, you'll be doing at least 10 pull-ups. 10 pull-ups in a row? By the time you go back to school, how do you think that sounds? I was thrilled. I was going to be able to do 10 pull-ups. I wouldn't be the laughingstock of gym class anymore. "I think that sounds awesome," I told him. "Well, remember, those pull-ups aren't going to happen by themselves. You're going to have to earn them with hard work and dedication. Understand?" I understand, and I did understand. This was going to be hard work, but it was going to be worth it. "All right, next set," Uncle Jake barked. I jumped back up to the box, grabbed the pull-up bar, jumped up, and started all over again on my path to 10 straight pull-ups. All right, that was part 2. Stay tuned for part 3 coming up.